What is good, guys and girls of YouTube? It is your boy Justin Omoe here to give y'all some good information. Today I want to talk to y'all about a mixing thing that a lot of people, especially me or I, overlooked when it was like in the beginning stages of mixing or learning to mix or feeling what feels good, I guess, in that sense. This is pretty much doing an A/B test or gain staging your signals so that once it is bypassed, you have a true understanding of the difference of the sound that it actually makes. I have a beat here. I have a signal here. That sound right there. This is the beat loop. Yeah. Hey. So I have a EQ on it. There is nothing changed with it. And we're going to go ahead and change some signals right now, and I'll explain, what went wrong and what we should do. Okay, so I pretty much changed the sound of the sound with the EQ here. I boosted up the 2K a little bit. By a little bit, I mean around -6. I did a little bit over here in the 500s. The rest I didn't even touch. I should have touched, but it's okay. And then I cut out a sound that I didn't like there. So if I were to do this right here, click this on and off, we'll get a listen to the signal. And I guess keep a look at these meters right here, this meter right here, and we'll have a visual as well as a hearing understanding of what went wrong. This is with the effect on. Take a look at the meter. Reset it. So you can see that once we have the effect on, the signal, although it doesn't feel louder in terms of the lower end, it doesn't feel beefier, it does have a louder signal as we see. It's some trickery, especially when you are mixing the sound and you're listening to every sound in the beat. It just feels like, hey, it feels good, it sounds good, and in some cases it is already good, but because you adjusted the volume in the effect, you don't really have to compensate in the fader at the end. This all depends on signal chains and whatnot, but in this case we're using one plugin as an example. But when we had the plugin enabled, the volume went up because obviously we're boosting here. What we want to do is take the output of this and lower it down so we have a true A/B listening test. So let me go ahead and show you that. As we saw in the meter though, the signal went from 11 to like 6 or something. We'll see again. So it's at around -11.6. And then with it on, we lose like 5 decibels or something, right? So here's the output. Some of y'all would have something like gain on the knob. It depends. If it's the Parametric EQ2, let me go and just pull that out. So like the Parametric EQ2, you have this knob right here, which is called the main level. So I could have showed y'all in this one as well, but this main level right here is equal to this out right here. Let's drop this down by like 4 or something. Let's just level match it, and we could play and do an A/B test. 5, whatever. Yeah, it's just about there, right? So this is what is happening right here. You know, you're boosting the highs. In turn, you're kind of reducing the lows. So if I were to show you in the EQ2 as a visual, let me go and go filter, parametric EQ2, and pretty much copy what I have here, which, you know, I'm not going to do the best job. Just visually look at what's happening here. But what is happening is we're just literally dropping this down, and you can see we are lowering the base volume in that turn, but we're retaining these highs. That is what we're essentially doing right here. We're boosting up 6 or almost 6, like around 5, and we're reducing the whole signal down by 5 to compensate for that signal boost. In all reality, it's to train your ears and tell you that, hey, one, this signal is not the same signal. You shouldn't judge this signal off of the boost or the volume of the level. And two, good practice, literally good practice. If you were to boost the signal or, you know, boost the EQ here, and then you have another plugin in the chain and you're like, yo, why does this signal sound so distorted? Why does it sound like it's too much? You might just do something stupid or do something like, hey, let me just lower down the whole signal. It's fixed. You know, when in reality, you just go to the plugin, find the gain or the output, lower that down. That's why they have that option there. And no, this right here does not help anything. It just takes away the mix. In turn, you got the mix over here, but that's, you know, besides the point. Doing this does not lower down the volume. It just lowers down the mix of the effect, the processing of that effect. Hold on. Let's say we wanted that loudness to know, you know, why did we take away that loudness when it sound good in the beat? And for the example, I'll turn it off and on and let y'all listen. Or let me put this back at 0. So this is how it originally was. Right here, it does feel like it's low in the mix. Let's say for the sake of example that you prefer it with that volume high up. I put the output back. In this case, just adjust the final fader up by 5 decibels. So if we were to hit play, 5, 7, 6, 7, that's 2, 2.3. Come on, you bastard. There we go. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and just take this. I'm going to put this over here in the current. I guess I could give you one more final look at this by pretty much exporting this. So let me go ahead and here do this, and check it out. Alt R. Okay, and now I'm going to turn this off. Like so. Bless you, Mom. All right, cool. Now this is literally the sounds right here. They are routed to the master. And we could tell that they have the effect on and off. So if I were to do this now, you can see that the signal is pretty much there on the same plane. All right. Whereas if I were to do the other one with the volume output at 0 instead of -5, we'll see that difference, and I'll activate that and do it one more time. So if I were to put the output at 0, the effect is on this time. I'll hit Alt R, hit enter. Of course, one more time. Alt R. There we go. Now we have a visual of what is going on here, and you know, you can understand why we need that gain compensation. So take a look at that signal there. Although it may look like the meat of the signal is kind of like right there in that same ballpark, you can see the peak or the loudness, or not loud, the volume of the signal overall is, you know, boosted up. So you want it to be, on that same plane. So you got a correct A/B test. Whereas if it was boosted, you have a higher bias on the signal, and you'll be like, hey, it sounds better without that gain compensation. It sounds better louder. And that's what we do not want to have when it comes to mixing, or pretty much adjusting the effect and wanting to hear the difference and be like, yo, does it sound better with it or without it? A lot of people, when they hear louder, they say, hey, it's better with that loudness in there. And that is correctly wrong. AKA it's wrong. It's a good practice to do this on every plugin in the chain. So once you have it here with the effect on, go to the next plugin and then do the A/B test on that one with the previous effect on, because the previous effect has that gain or that level matched. So if I were to go to like a compressor, I go to the compression dynamics, compressor. In this case, I would, compress it. All right. So once we do have that level matched, we could pretty much hear similar signal all throughout. So you see how that's, on the same plane there. And if I were to bypass, you can see that we're relatively at that same level. Just understand that I kind of overdid the effects, like the compressor, like hella compressed. But for example, you can see how it sounds on the same level. That's what I want you guys and girls to kind of practice and put into your mind when you are mixing, gain compensation, making sure the levels are the same for A/B testing. But yeah, hopefully this helps you guys and girls out. If you didn't know about it, I hope you put this into your mind and play around, test around. Usually you won't need the meter in the end. Just base it on your ear and how it feels. But, put a meter if you want to, just to be certain. This is your boy, Justin Omoe. With all that said, peace. I'm out. And please have yourselves a damn good one.